Well, Buffalo Bills defensive back Damar Hamlin is still in critical condition this morning after the Bills say he suffered a cardiac arrest on the field following a tackle.
And this is the aftermath. You can see his shaken teammates praying for the 24-year-old. Hamlin made what looked like a routine tackle about halfway through the first quarter, but once he stood up, he suddenly collapsed. CPR was performed on him on the field, and a defibrillator was also reportedly used before he was taken away in an ambulance. The Bills-Bengals game was postponed.
Hamlin was then transported to the University of Cincinnati Medical Center, and about 100 Bills fans, along with some Bengals fans, gathered on a nearby a corner block from the emergency room entrance, some of them holding candles in vigil.
And for some insight on the situation, we're joined live now by Montreal-based cardiologist and epidemiologist Dr. Christopher Labose. Dr. Labose, many are wondering how this tackle, which didn't even look as violent as some tackles we've seen in the NFL, ended up in, Hamlin suffering a cardiac arrest.
Right. So, I mean, obviously, we don't know all the information. We don't know if he had pre-existing medical conditions. But if you assume that he was an otherwise young, healthy young man playing football and had no pre-existing cardiac problems, whenever you see somebody go into cardiac arrest like this after a blow to the chest, there's one diagnosis that comes to mind, and that's commotio cordis. And that is exactly what I just described, is that when you suffer a blow to the chest, often during sporting games, you often hear it described in terms of a baseball hitting like a pitcher in the chest, or in a situation like this, where you have a blow, a tackle of some kind, that a blow straight over the breastbone, directly over where the heart is. If it happens at exactly the right moment, at exactly the right place, with exactly the right velocity, you can actually trigger an arrhythmia, because if it happens in that millisecond wide window when the heart is depolarizing, you can trigger an arrhythmia like ventricular fibrillation. And when that happens, your heart stops beating. And when your heart stops beating, you stop pushing blood to your essential organs, especially your brain, and you no longer have a pulse. So when that happens, a human being collapses. They go into cardiac arrest. And the quicker you can restore normal rhythm with a defibrillator, as the paramedics did there, the quicker you resolve the situation. But it's essentially that. It is an arrhythmia that is caused by a blow directly over the heart at exactly the right moment in time, which leads to the outcome that we observed on the field.
So, Dr. Labose, I'm sure, this sounds fairly rare to most of us. You can probably address that in this next answer. But I'm also curious then about the prognosis for a 24-year-old professional athlete whose body is likely as finely tuned as almost anybody on the face of this earth. What, I know you haven't, checked in on him or anything like that and aren't part of this, but what in your expertise and experience would you expect in a situation like this?
Yeah, so you're right. This is a very, very rare condition. Ever since the registry for commotio cordis was implemented in the early 90s, there's been less than 300 cases documented, and that's over, a span of some 30 years. This is not something that happens very often. The survival rate from this has actually improved substantially over 30 years for one very important reason: defibrillators. This problem is an arrhythmia problem. If you can get a person to a defibrillator or get a defibrillator to them as quickly as possible, you minimize the amount of time when their brain is without oxygen. And that's what's going to determine somebody's long-term outcome in neurological recovery. So because he got a defibrillator and they started CPR as quickly as possible, but more importantly, because they got the defibrillator, it seems relatively quickly. I mean, there is good reason to hope that his recovery will be a positive one. We don't know, but we can certainly hope. But that's the big factor that makes the difference. How quickly can you shock somebody back into a normal?
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Labose, we know that he was, lying there on the field for several minutes and, CPR couldn't revive him. I'm curious to know from a medical standpoint, I know there must be some people out there speculating. Did this have anything to do with, COVID-19 vaccine, specifically Moderna, which shows that young men, if taking the vaccine, are at a higher risk of having heart problems? Do you see any connection? Is it too early to speculate? What's your take?
I mean, no. I mean, quite honestly, he suffered a blow to the chest and he went down. This is the classic of commotio cordis. I mean, this is sort of classic. I mean, how would you attribute this to a vaccine? And I don't know when his last vaccine dose was, but if, let's say you got a vaccine dose several months ago, why would it affect him now? Why wouldn't you attribute it to the blow that he got seconds before he went down? I mean, we have to be a little bit logical about these types of things. I mean, commotio cordis happens, sudden cardiac death in athletes happens. I mean, we don't need to attribute this to the vaccine or to COVID in any way. It is a thing that happens. In basketball athletes, we often see it in the context of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, but that's a genetic condition where the heart is enlarged. I mean, in this case, I think, we've all seen the tape. We've seen that he had that blow to the chest from the tackle. I think it's pretty clear that we can attribute his cardiac arrest to this. We'll see. Maybe new information will come out. But for now, I mean, we have to go with the most logical explanation.
Okay, cardiologist and epidemiologist Dr. Christopher LeBeaus, really appreciate the time and insight this morning. Thanks so much for joining us here. I think it's sort of helped our audience understand this a whole lot more. Thanks again.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Take care.
Well, bringing a real Christmas tree into your home might be a necessity for many over the holidays, but when Christmas is over, you don't have to banish them to a landfill.
You can find new ways to give them back to a new life while giving back to the environment. So for more on this, Amanda Draves joins us, the Restoration Project field technician with Conservation Halton. Amanda, thanks for joining us here. So this is something that's become a bit of a Christmas tradition. What do you want to do with all these Christmas trees then?
Yeah, so our restoration teams at Conservation Halton use these Christmas trees and we give them a second life and we install them in creeks. So we collect them in January with our community, our regional and our municipal partners. And then in July and August, we install them in creeks and waterways in the Halton region.
Okay, and so installing these, old Christmas trees in streams and waterways, tell us about how that can help the environment. The program has been in place for less than a decade, but you've been able to track what the benefits have been?
Yeah, so a big way that this really helps is creeks in Ontario, creeks in southern Ontario specifically, have been historically over-widened. They've been straightened, they've been channelized, they've been manipulated, and this really does change the flow of water and the flow of sediment through the system. And this can negatively impact not only the habitat for the critters that call these creeks home, but it also increases risks for flooding, for erosion, where we don't want to see it. And so by installing Christmas trees in creeks, it's a really natural way to narrow the creek over time. Sediment catches in the Christmas trees as it moves through the water, and over time it creates a creek bank where there wasn't one previously. So you're returning that creek back to what it maybe used to look like in terms of its width.
And that's pretty remarkable, right? And the idea of, taking a Christmas tree and rather than pitching it into the landfill, instead doing that. So you're accepting them, Amanda, we understand, in Halton Hills on Friday and Saturday. My question is, do you need to be a resident of Halton to do this? Or if you have your tree and you're hearing about this morning, can you bring it out there now or then, pardon me?
Yeah, you can. We welcome all trees. We're looking for 1,500 trees this year, which is significantly more than what we have asked for in the past. So if you're interested in making a drive this weekend, definitely come and see us.
And Amanda, it seems like this program could really be in place all over Ontario. So why isn't that the case? It seems to make good sense.
That's a good question. I'm not sure. The practice of using Christmas trees, any woody material in a creek has been used for quite some time. I think it's just years ago we used to collect these trees by just driving around. And after a few years of driving around with a trailer, we thought, why not see if people would be willing to bring them to us? And we've had an overwhelming response from the community to want to bring them and drop them off. So we started running these drop-offs about 8 years ago, and we've never stopped.
And Amanda, you're looking for 1,500 trees this year. How many trees or how many mats would you get out of 1,500 trees? What would that mean?
I would say the Christmas tree mats probably average anywhere from 50 to 60 to 75. So we make quite a few Christmas tree mats in July and August with that.
And Amanda, before we let you go, does anything need to be done to the trees before they're installed in the streams and waterways? I'm just looking at some of the B-roll, and it looks like they're stripped of their needles.
They're actually not stripped of their needles. We just ask that people take off any ornaments or tinsel, anything artificial on the tree. If they sit through the winter, sometimes they lose their needles, but we like them with the needles on because that helps collect sediment a lot better. So just take the ornaments off.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Thank you so much, Amanda Draves from Conservation Halton. Appreciate your time. Happy New Year and good luck with this Saturday. Take care. The world's largest tech showcase, the Consumer Electronics Show, or CES for short, has kicked off. And as vehicles continue to make the transition to electric, they certainly have taken center stage at the event.
All right, so let's go live to Vegas right now, where automotive journalist Patrina Gentile joins us live. Patrina, great to be talking to you live from Vegas this morning. I wish I was there. It's such an exciting and interesting place to be. And of course, today, Sony and Honda have unveiled their prototype EV, the Alifa. Tell us more about this.
Yeah, this is interesting. So this was actually a merger between the two companies, and they are actually bringing out their first electric vehicle. Sony made headlines here about 3 years ago when they introduced a car, and they were just wowed. And now they're taking it one step further. So this vehicle, it's all about the software and the safety technology in it. It's really cool, and they say they're going to try to get this on the road by 2025, 2026.
Okay, that is exciting. And Katrina, Canada also being represented at the CES with the Project Aero. What's the buzz like? Because this thing is designed, engineered, supplied all in Canada.
Exactly. Yes, this is a great Canadian success story. They're actually going to have the launch just in a couple of hours. It's still quite early. But as you say, this is a homegrown Canadian project from the Canadian Automotive Manufacturers Association. And this really showcases what Canada can do in terms of designing electric vehicles. So it has some really neat technology in it, a 3D printed chassis, sustainable materials inside. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I know. We've spoken to Flavio Volpe about this. It really is a remarkable project. So that's really exciting and getting some international attention indeed. Katrina, here's the question, though. Very curious about this because the Jetsons promised it, but we're not there yet. But how much closer are we to getting around in flying cars?
We have some debuts here. Flying cars are a big deal here. So ASCA is actually showing their Ace 5, and this is a flying car. You can drive it on the road and then take off, vertically. And they're hoping that they're going to have a ride-sharing service with this sometime coming up in like 2026 or so. They're going to unveil today, and they're even out offering a couple of drives in the parking area as well. No flying, but driving, which is cool. And I have to say, we did this really cool launch yesterday with the keynote address from BMW, and they showed this iVision D vehicle, which is basically short for digital emotional experience. And this was such a cool car to start the show off with because it had all these different colors. So it was purple, it was blue, it was yellow, it was checkered, really cool. It even has a walking sequence when you walk up to the vehicle, the lights come on, and there's an avatar of the driver that waves in the window, and a huge head-up display that runs right across the windshield. And that's, again, to showcase what the future is. And it is, digitization, it's electric, it's autonomous, and this is really, the future moving forward of mobility.
Yeah, absolutely. The inside of that car certainly gives the Tesla screen a run for its money. And I guess, with the flying vehicle, you're also going to have to get your pilot's license as well as the driver's license.
Yeah.
But staying on the ground, let's focus on the Dodge Ram pickup finally going electric.
It's a long time in the waiting. We're actually going to see it this afternoon. So it hasn't been unveiled yet. It's under embargo. But, Ram is late to the party with this pickup truck. There are other electric trucks on the market. Ford F-150 Lightning, for example, is really stealing the show. You have new players like Rivian here. So Ram is going to have to really lift the bar up when it comes to this electric pickup truck. Because like I say, they are late to the party.
All right, listen, Katrina Gentile, the automotive journalist out of Las Vegas at the CES. Great to chat with you. Thanks so much for giving us a sense of what it's like there. Very exciting indeed. Take care.
Thank you. You too.
The 2023 Consumer Electronics Show is underway in Las Vegas, where more than 100,000 attendees have returned in person to what is considered the most influential tech event in the world.
And joining us now is tech influencer from CES for a glimpse of what's coming up. That, of course, tech expert Mark Saltzman, frequent guest here on the program. Mark, thanks for joining us this morning. So just sort of take us behind the scenes. What's it been like at CES? Because, of course, for the pandemic, it was on pause.
Yeah, it's back, almost in full force. Pre-pandemic, we saw about 180,000 attendees, journalists like yours truly, analysts, retailers, roamed the nearly 4 million feet of showroom floor space. So this year, as you just mentioned off the top, about 100,000 or so. So look, certainly better than last year, and I think it's only going to get better and better. But more importantly, the vibe is here. The energy is here. Over 3,200 exhibitors are showcasing their wares, whether they're a small startup or they are a multi-billion-dollar automotive company. So everything in between. So it's really exciting. As a tech geek, I'm like a kid in a candy store here. What can I say?
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it's so riveting to be back there in person. So, Mark, let's start off with some of the items you're seeing. First off, a fresh take on a laptop.
Yeah, this is the world's first full-size dual-screen OLED laptop.
Whoa.
So check this out. It's like twin 13-inch screens on a hinge, and it's called the Yoga Book 9i. Yoga is the operative word because it kind of does like a downward dog in a way. But there's so many applications, right? You can use it like a, on one half you can sketch or use the keyboard, and those are both included, the stylus pen and the physical keyboard. And on the other side of the screen, you can do a Zoom call, or you can, watch a video, or you can hold it like a digital magazine or an ebook and flip through the pages. So very versatile, whether it's for work or play. I love seeing these new form factors. Again, it's called the Yoga Book 9i, coming in June at some point. And then we've seen smartwatches too. Of course, wearables are very trendy here. And Citizen, that's a company that's been around for 105 years. Well, they've tried to redefine this space with the CZ Smart UQ smartwatch, or smarter smartwatches, they're billing it, leveraging IBM Watson machine learning and NASA technology. So it's not just a wearable that gives you, tracks your fitness and your sleep, but it predicts things for you. It predicts patterns like fatigue and tells you how to improve this based on your particular vitals and everything. And it looks cool too, right? It looks more like a classic smartwatch.
Yeah, it's less
coming in March.
techie looking, more sort of classic looking, right? Something you sort of could dress up with rather than, go for a run with or something. All right, Mark, smart home tech, pretty hot this year, including for the outside of your home as well. I like the sound of this.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first, a smart deadbolt. This is from Schlage, the Encode Plus smart Wi-Fi deadbolt. So this replaces your existing one, and it gives homeowners a convenient and secure way to access their home, and in several ways. First of all, it supports Apple's latest HomeKit update. So you can use your Apple Watch to get in, your smartphone. You can use an app. You can use the keypad. Your voice, if you have a smart speaker and you're going to bed, you can tell your smart speaker to lock your front door for you. Wow. You can send someone a temporary e-key, like a technician or a babysitter or a dog walker, that lets them get into your home certain days of the week or certain times of that day. It's coming in 2023 for $399 from Schlage. And then going from that to Moen, they've already sort of helped us manage our water in the home. Well, now outside with this smart sprinkler controller and smart wireless soil sensors. So this means, we'll get to that LG TV in a sec, but check this out here. This is for those who water their grass. That can help you save up to 30% on your water bill. And who doesn't want that with everything going on in the economy? So this gives your lawn the precise amount of water it needs when it needs it, because those soil sensors wirelessly tell the controller what the moisture level is like, or the temperature is like of the grass. Or if it's raining in the GTA, it won't work at all. It'll know that that's a moot sort of thing to turn on, right? So it's getting smarter and smarter, and that's from Moen. Very cool. And then, let's end off on that big TV, guys. Nick and Jen, this is stunning. 97-inch OLED TV from LG, but it's not the size, really, that's the story. It's the world's first wireless OLED TV. What does that mean? You connect what's called a zero connect box somewhere else in your home, and it wirelessly sends a 4K signal to the TV. So when you're looking at that TV, it's all screen, no cables, no cords. So you have nothing connected to it, only that zero connect box somewhere else in the room. That's coming in this year as well. So it's kind of like walking around the future here. We're going to see all this cool tech that we'll use perhaps on a daily basis in the future.
Yeah, I really love it, Mark. Finally, examples of how technology can perhaps make your life better, more so than social media.
Yeah, exactly. No doubt about that. That is really fascinating. And I love the home, the Schlage product, the home lock, and that really, the applications to that seemed amazing. So, Mark, thanks for showing us to that. We'll look for those on store shelves coming up this year. I hope things go well for you, of course, at CES. Great to talk to our tech guru, Mark Saltzman, this morning. All right, well, Canadian Jeopardy champ Ray Lalonde reached the end of his winning streak earlier this week.
Was he correct with Isabel Allende? He knew it was Allende. He will add, he bet it all as well. You have $24,000, and now you, sir, have the lead. $4,490.
Now, everyone got the final Jeopardy correct, but Lalonde's final total was a few $100s short of his opponent, Lloyd Tsai. The Toronto-based scenic artist is still going home, though, with nearly $400,000 US. So that's well over $500,000 in Canadian winnings. And we welcome live to CP24 Breakfast this morning, Jeopardy champ Ray Lalonde. Congratulations, Ray.
Thank you so much.
So you're not exactly.
There's cheers playing in the background.
The cheers you hear it. You hear it. So Ray, what was your experience like? Did you? I know you prepped for this, but did you ever expect to reach this far?
Not at all. You go down, and most people get there. They play one game and they go home. And I totally expected I'm going to have some fun and try not to do too badly on TV. And then, the first game you play and, oh, look, I'm ahead. Oh, I got Final Jeopardy. I won the game. And then it's just on to the next game. And it happens so fast.
Wow.
And of course, you tape many games in one day, so
Yes.
this kind of like goes on and on. So it doesn't draw out like it does for us when we're watching,
Yes.
on television each evening here. But I wonder, when you got to that point where you'd won 2 and then won 3, what starts creeping into your mind? Like, oh, I'm onto something. Like, how did your mind react?
Well, the way the game works, of course, if you win 4 or 5, you get to come back. And so once you win 3, it's like, oh, this could happen.
Yeah.
This is even bigger than I thought it would be. So yeah, it was kind of cool. But it's always one game at a time. I never expected to win the next one.
Right.
I was always ready to be, okay, I did everything I wanted to do. I'm satisfied. I can go home with my head up, Yeah.
Right, and of course that final was so spectacular. 3 contestants with, in the 5 digits.
Strong players, yeah.
Very strong players. So Ray, I'm so curious. I'm sure many people are wondering, what type of skill set do you think you and other contestants who succeed so much have in common? Is it memory? Is it just whoever studied the most? Have you pinned down the reason to the success yet, the formula?
It's kind of a broad range of interests because, they ask you anything about everything. So you kind of have to be a mile wide with your knowledge. And then, you kind of have a mind that, things pop into your head pretty quickly. So I've always had that Trivial Pursuit kind of thing going on, where I played that pretty well, and I always loved the game. We always watched it on TV, so,
So let me ask you, you and Mattea Roach, of course, are 2 of the sort of biggest named Canadian champions of recent memory, for sure. I wonder, do you have like a little text chat with Mattea Roach? Like, do you communicate with her very much, or how do you get along? Because I know there's something more to it. That's why I'm asking.
Okay, well, people are texting me and getting a hold of me and that. I don't spend a lot of time online. I'm not that guy.
Okay.
And other people want to have a big media presence, and this is, part of their life strategy.
Yeah.
I like my job already.
Okay.
I'm just a quiet person. I do my art, and I really enjoy it. And I don't, even like this week, with all the texts and the messages and media things, it's a lot. It takes a lot of your time.
Sure does. Yeah, exactly.
I bet it is. And for your job, I know you were working on the hit movie or the series, The Handmaid's Tale.
Yes.
As well. And so, Ray, I don't know if this is a personal question, but I'm going to ask it.
Sure.
What are you going to do with your winning money?
I'm going to bank some. I'm going to splurge a bit. It's that much money. You have to, treat yourself.
Sure. Yeah.
You really do. So right now I'm looking up, places in Europe that I'd like to go and see that I haven't seen yet. So a few things like that. And then, as I say, my daughter is just graduating U of T this spring.
Oh, congrats.
And so she might want to go to grad school, and that'll be some money, so I'll put some aside for her.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's
so
really
great.
good. If I can just circle back, because what I was trying to get at was what we talked about sort of in the commercial break. You can't really have a relationship with some of the players because you're going to go back and compete against them. So they kind of try to carve out some strict rules around that. Can you get into that? Because I think that's fascinating for people behind the scenes.
Well, it's very tightly policed. It's a game show cop, he kind of calls himself, who's there, and they draw all the names randomly. And he's in charge of, making sure that, the game follows all the rules so that nobody could possibly cheat. And it's a very big deal. And they tell you that ahead of time when you get down there, that, we have these sorts of rules that everybody has to play by. And there you go.
Yeah, so I'm so fascinated because going back to that final game and that question,
Sure.
Isabelle Lalande, the author, I had just read a book by her called Long Petal of the Sea, but if I saw this question in Jeopardy, I wouldn't have gotten
kind
it.
of, or?
So I'm just kind of curious, before you go into, a game, do they give you themes that you should study to narrow it down, or is it just, hey, it's a free-for-all, good luck?
It's a free-for-all. They could ask you anything about it, and you never know until that category comes up. And the funny thing about that, of course, is I'm looking at that category. I feel good about it, but then I know Lloyd, I've spoken to. He's a PhD in literature.
Right.
So as soon as that came up and he's a little bit ahead, I thought, okay, I'm going home.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bet the farm, but he's gonna beat me, and that's fine.
Right.
Okay, so speaking of, a free-for-all, we have our own free-for-all trivia for you.
Sure.
We're going to put you to the test, Ray.
Oh, no.
So let's start. We're going to kick it off with this question. Toronto is the 4th biggest urban area in North America. What are the other 3?
Obviously, it's going to be North America?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so Mexico City, Los Angeles, and New York.
Bing, bing, bing,
bing, bing, bing, bing.
You got it.
All right, that was
Yay.
almost too easy. This is another Toronto-based question.Ray, what year did the CN Tower open?
Ooh. I knew people that actually worked on that thing. 1973, I'm going to say?
Oh, 76.
Okay, yeah, right.
Okay, next question, Ray.
Well, they're buzzing. That's harsh.
That's brutal. Okay, Canada has 2,860 of these, twice as many as the USA. What are they?
I should not look at the monitor. I'm afraid.
Yeah, you looked at the monitor. Okay.
I didn't know it was going to have the answer on it.
I didn't know either.
apologize.
Sorry, I'm rolling it too. Ice rinks. I thought it was going to be lakes, actually. That would have been my answer had I seen it blind.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to be very careful as I roll this one.
Yeah.
A Canadian pharmacist invented this spreadable. What is it?
Pharmacist.
Ooh. Peanut butter?
It's not a drug. It is peanut butter.
There we go.
Oh,
There we are.
I thought it was going to be like Preparation H or something. Because it's pharmaceutical. Okay.
It's kind of a spreadable.
All right, this next question. The world's only pierogi drive-through is in this city.
Ooh.
Wow.
Well, given my experience with the prairies, I'm going to say Winnipeg.
I would guess that too. Or somewhere in Saskatchewan?
Yeah.
Are they going to put that up?
It's.
Yes, you're right.
Saskatoon.
It's in Saskatoon.
Okay.
You got it. Awesome.
Okay, look at me playing. All right, and here's a question that I know you're not going to answer, but we're going to give it to you anyway. How many parking and speeding tickets did Jennifer Shung get in 2022? Have a look at my friend Jen here. She shows up late a lot. I'll give you that as a hint.
Oh my gosh. You guys are calling me out on the show.
Oh, no, I'm going to
So
give
you
you a
can
number
guess,
between 1 and 50.
Yeah.
25.
Oh, close. I think 15.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Not as
Wow,
bad as all
that's
that.
pretty good. Oh, I just spat on you. Sorry. Wow, Ray, congratulations
Ray, thank you so much.
again. You
Thanks for
did
playing here at
awesome.
home,
My
and thanks for
pleasure.
your amazing story. Great to meet you.
Yeah.
Meet you too.
Yeah,
of
thank
luck
you so
in
much.
Thank you.